Last night I stabbed my finger cutting glass to make a rainbow. It's an occupational hazard for a glass fuser. The cut was small but deep and bled quite a bit, though it didn't hurt. Around midnight, however, the throbbing in my finger woke me up. I tried all sorts of physical and psychological ways to ease the pain so I could go back to sleep. The isolation of the small hours didn't help. Such a slight injury to my body, and yet still such stabbing pain. An assembly I've often used in schools assigns to each day of Holy Week a word beginning with P and an action. There's palm, pigeon, perfume, parable, Passover, prayer, promise. For Good Friday, the word is pain. The action is to touch each wrist gently with the opposite index finger. I've always found that a tremendously moving action. I cannot bear what it symbolises, the driving of a nail through flesh, splintering bone, tearing through muscle, snapping tendon. If a stab to the end of my finger hurts so much, how can anyone bear this? I am deeply afraid of physical pain. I've hardly ever had to bear it myself and seldom witnessed it firsthand. Now we are at a stage of the pandemic where we can witness second-hand to the effects of the virus, from the testimony of those who have recovered, from those working in intensive care settings, and from grieving families. What dominates these accounts is the unholy trinity of pain, fear, and isolation. What can the Christian faith offer into all this anguish? We often overlook how scandalous it is that Christianity should have the crucifixion of Jesus at the heart of the story. Crucifixion was one of the most brutal and shameful methods of execution known in the ancient world. The Romans used it as a method of social control to deter civil disobedience. It's horrifying that it is sometimes still practiced even today. Christianity deals with the pain at the heart of our story in different ways. We figure the instrument of torture in gold and hang it around our necks. We sculpt Jesus' broken body in cool marble and describe the torture in beautiful poetry, which is at once both heartbreaking but also consoling. We theologise the pain into something purposeful and necessary. Maybe today, when so many around the world are echoing Jesus' cry from the cross, my God, why have you abandoned me?" we should leave the pain as a raw and open wound without anaesthetic. Perhaps the best we can do is to acknowledge that the unholy trinity of pain, fear, and isolation is in fact holy ground. Not in the sense that God intends it, but that it is part of the story of God's relationship with humanity through the shared experience of Jesus. And perhaps we can recognise another feature from these stories from the front line of the pandemic. People instinctively recognise that isolation is one of the worst aspects of what this virus does to us. And so, despite the fact that many physical barriers are necessary to prevent its spread, people are going to extraordinary lengths to ensure that love and kindness still get through the barriers. Masked medical staff wearing a photo of their own smiling faces so that patients may see who they really are. Phone calls, messages, photos, even a bottle of a wife's favourite scent passed through the barriers so that her husband, through his dementia, might remember her in his dying moments. Even amidst the urgency and pressure of medical care, priority is given to love and kindness. Even on this Good Friday, we find love at the heart of things.